All right, welcome into another edition of Catching Up with Tommy Mack here on 1010XL's podcast platform, 1010XL.com, and, of course, the 1010XL app, whether you listen to the radio network all throughout the day or you listen to the on-demand and the other podcasts that are done right here in the 1010XL podcast studios, brought to you by my good friends at Team Tommy Mack, just a group of businesses that I endorse personally, man. Love them. And it's not just on the show, although it is. It's also in doing business development, just connecting them with the right people. It's also being out in the street, wearing, some swag, what have you. People ask or it's brought up. We had a sausage guy on the horse's mouth yesterday, and he brought up another sausage. He's like, no, that's not the best. Azar's the best, man. And that guy ended up calling Azar. It was fantastic. But, yeah, Team Tommy Mack, man. Check them out. All throughout social media, I post about them and just tag their page and go check them out and see if they're a fit when you're in need of their services. They trust me. I trust them. You should trust them, too. Hey, I do want to say thank you to Bobby. I met Bobby heading into the Wawa this morning. Bobby listens to Catching Up with Tommy Mack, and we got a chance to say hello, and good dude, and appreciate you checking us out here on Catching Up with Tommy Mack. Lots to get into. Of course, it's Final Four weekend, and should be a good one. When Graham gets in here, I want to throw it at him because, is the rating still going to be all male? Like, is it going to have more people watching the men than the women overall? I wonder. I know I'm kind of intrigued by the women. I'm almost over it, though, at the same time. Although South Carolina should be fun to watch, man, being undefeated. We'll only take a few minutes on that, if that long at all. Of course, we'll go through the NFL, some moves out there, and we'll bring it back into the Jaguars like we normally do here on Catching Up with Tommy Mack. We'll include the talk on Stefan Diggs to the Texans, what that means, what it doesn't mean, and all that entails, and I got some other things we'll get through. Let's say good morning to my esteemed producer, also host of his own podcast here on the 1010XL podcast platform, Grammage. Good morning, Grammage.
Happy Friday, sir.
How you doing, dude? What's the name of your podcast again?
Denmark and Marsh.
Denmark and Marsh. There you go.
Pockets, who some people know him as, the producer for Jaguars today.
Yeah, man.
Pockets and I went to college together. We were college roommates.
That's right.
At UF.
At UF.
So we've been buddies for a long time. And we both are working here at the station now. And we're both kind of behind the scenes guys in a lot of ways.
You're producing a lot of shows.
We produce stuff, push the buttons and stuff. Yep. But we are both very into sports and have our own takes and whatnot. So we figured let's do our own thing.
Get it out there, man. Put it out there and let people decide, how they like it. So far, so good. I see the numbers on the when I'm online checking it out. So make sure you check that out. I threw out their Final Four weekend, right? Now, do they have any chance in ratings to compete with the men when it's all said and done? Or is it still going to be dominant, people watching the men's Final Four as opposed to the women's? I'm more intrigued by the women's. That might not be fair. I haven't really watched a lot of the men's, to be honest with you. I'll watch it because it's sudden death. That's like playoff ball. Like one misstep, game over. One bad foul, right? Bad pass, steal, block shot, missed free throws, all those things count when it gets into this. It's sudden death to the core. I think that's why most people love it. That's why I love watching it myself.
Especially in hoops.
Yeah.
Because basketball is more of a basketball game can be more of a crapshoot than a football game.
Yeah.
Football, like, crazy stuff can still happen. It's very much any given Sunday in the NFL and all that. But in basketball, man, an absolute nobody of a team can have one guy just get hot from three, and they'll win. Same in
the playoffs, though, because you pick six could change the entire game.
That's true.
One play.
That's true.
And you think about, like, the last Iowa and LSU game, that third quarter, Iowa got hot, Caitlin Clark got hot, but they all got hot, and LSU couldn't hit They just couldn't hit. They had a couple open shots. They didn't hit them, maybe 3 or 4, and then that momentum swung, and it felt like they were in control. Iowa was the rest of the game.
LSU was throwing up some ugly clunkers, man.
They were.
I know. The third quarter, I was like,
third quarter, yeah, I know. They were tight throughout, but
there's misses and then there's bad misses.
Yeah,
there were some bad misses.
Yeah.
It was pretty gross. I was like, ooh.
I saw that little blonde. I shouldn't say little. That blonde guard entered the portal from LSU.
Haley Van Lith.
What's her name?
Haley Van Lith.
Yeah. Yep. She's in the portal, so I guess off she goes. Taking a look around the NFL, Jordan Mailata gets a nice deal. How about this? A guy, mountain of a man, 6'8", tackle for the Eagles. He gets $66 million extension, $20 million sign bonus. Here's your check. Or direct deposit, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? What a feeling that must be to be able to come home and share that with everybody. Wife, kids, what have you. $20 million right there for playing football at the highest level.
To make you want to dust off the cleats?
No.
Come out of retirement?
No, I would need a $20 million insurance policy when I break my back into and can't walk again. Cal Van Noy, he goes back to the Ravens after a 9-sack performance. They do lose Clowney, so they'll have to figure that one out, but Cal Van Noy returns. Carson Wentz goes to the Chiefs. Going to back up Mahomie. Good move there, I guess. He should be very familiar with everything. And, hey, he's not going to play. I hope he doesn't have to play. But if he does, he steps in there and maybe can run the offense to something positive. But it looks like he is going to go to the Panthers. All right, I know Jag fans, everybody got excited with the Stefan Diggs trade to the Houston Texans. So, okay. And the Texans, I guess they got rid of the last 3 years on his contract, gave him a little bump in pay this year. He's going to make like $22 million this year playing 1 year of football. But they get it done. Look, good for them. He can still get down the field. Think about it. They got Tank, they got Nico, they got Schultz, they got him. Now, they got Joe Mixon now.
Damian
Pierce. Their O-line's okay. Tunsil's very good. The rest are okay, so I don't know what they're going to do there. You can have all the, the skill positions you want, but you better have it up front. They do have it at left tackle. Look, and it's second year for C.J. Stroud. They look great on paper. They do. And they are the number one team to beat in the AFC South. You got to give them that. So what? It's just, who cares? Like, at the end of the day, you're going to play them twice. You're going to play everybody in the division, and it's going to work itself out one way or the other. On paper right now, yeah, I would give the nod to Houston.
We were the team to beat last year, and what the hell did that mean?
It didn't mean anything. It didn't mean anything. You're absolutely right. The utter collapse after being 8-3, and we know various reasons went into that. But look, I don't think this. My opinion. I'm not changing my draft thinking because one player went to Houston.
I said the exact same thing.
I'm not doing
this morning.
That. People are like, no, we got to go corner. Look, if it depends who's there. I've seen mocks where they're trading up for corner. I've seen where the kid from Alabama falls, Arnold. The kid from Toledo, he falls. Or we go get him. I've even seen a couple mocks. I think I said it already. I'm okay with whatever they go with, unless it's crazy out there. You go. I think, in my opinion, if the best tackle's there remaining, if he is there, maybe it's Mims, maybe it's the Fautanu, although they think he may be moving up. I'd like that a lot, because now if you hear things about Trevor with getting to that second, progression, right? First read, he's great on. He's great on. Second progression might have a few problems. Well, I guarantee you he doesn't have confidence in that he can get to the second read without getting hit.
Yeah.
And that's fair. So shore up the O-line. Don't give me, last year we only played together for one game and now we got him. I wouldn't go on that. I personally wouldn't go on that. Maybe that's just a a smoke screen or whatnot. We'll see what happens, but shore up that offensive line to me. And now you're seeing and by the way, people that are like, well, geez, what do the Bills think of Stefan Diggs? Must not think that highly of him. Well, do you say the same thing about Gabe Davis? Because they could have offered him the most money if they wanted to keep him that bad, overpay him like Tennessee overpaid Ridley if you really liked, and he was your favorite guy, right? No, they're obviously ready to move on. How would you like to be the Bills' Josh Allen? Where'd y'all go? Who's next? You know what I mean?
He's Will Smith in the Fresh Prince meme.
Yeah, exactly.
Where he's sitting there and there's no one in there, and he's sitting there like, all right.
Yeah. Who are you going to bring in? Who are you going to go get? You're going to have to replenish that one. But hey, that is their problem. I mean, look, when I saw the news, I was like, okay, listen, you give Stroud time, he's gonna kill you. He's a smart dude. He's got all the tools, tough kid, can read it all. It seems like he can see it all. But keep in mind, look, and I talk about this a lot, and it's true. Those second-year QBs, this is when you find out what you're going to potentially have. It's not an end-all, say-all, because some QBs do really well their first year, struggle that second year because they see stuff they've never seen. They're not used to seeing it. They're finding new stuff happening to them all the time. They can't figure it out. But then they go back to work and figure it out. And then year 3, they're back on the right track. Hopefully year 4, they're ascending through, right? So that second year is really important in how your quarterback is going to be down the road. Now, there's factors. It's not a blanket statement. But the one blanket is this. Defensive coordinators have spent all offseason studying you. It's different than during the week. You only have so much time. During the offseason, your staff will be watching a ton of film. A ton of film. Not on just prospects they like, but on the opponents that are coming up. They're studying them. They're putting game plans together. They're already doing that stuff. And they're going to try to find out what takes Stroud. What's his weakness? I don't know what it is. It didn't seem like he had many, but he does because they all do. Every quarterback does. So they got to get past that. Look at Bryce Young. Look, he wasn't very good last year, but he also didn't have much around him. They beef up the O-line. They get him some help. I'm not saying Bryce Young is not going to be a good quarterback. I would have taken CJ over him. I just thought he had more to the game. But Bryce Young, look, he took his lumps. He learned a lot. He experienced a lot. And he's seen a lot, not a ton, right? I think it takes a few years to see a ton to really, where you really, decipher it before the ball is snapped. That takes, that takes a little bit of time. Repetition, full speed repetition, not just practice repetition, but full speed. And when you're not practicing even at practice speed, you're not getting it either. So you got to practice too, as it's been reported that, Trev missed too much, but in practice, hopefully that changes this year. He's got to be out there for all of that. But you look at Young, you look at Will Levis. Look, Will Levis, they're loading up for him. And if they grab a tackle at the 7th pick, if they stay there, what are they doing? They're invested in him. They're saying, okay, this is our guy. He's got enough tools. He definitely has an arm. There's no doubt he can throw the ball, but can he do everything else? It remains to be seen. But they're going to protect him, and they gave him weapons, obviously, and they're going to roll with him for now. Look, one thing, it's kind of funny. You used to get 3 or 4 years with your first-round QB. It's not really the case. Sometimes you get 2, and if you don't feel like that guy's going to go to where you need him to go, then guess what? You start looking for the replacement. Well, you do.
And even if you do get to that 3 to 4 year mark, what's happened is QBs make so much money now that it's forced these teams' hands a lot faster and a lot harsher. Yeah. And it's forced a lot more black and white with these contract decisions, because for a long time, before the quarterback money got insane, there was an option to, in a lot of ways, if a quarterback hadn't quite performed what you liked, but he wasn't terrible, there was like you could go into year 4, year 5, year 6 and kind of sign some pretty reasonable contracts and buy more time to see if this guy is him. But now it's like once it gets to that 5th-year option time on a rookie deal, if this guy's someone that you might even consider at all to be your franchise quarterback, you have to pay him record-setting money.
Yeah. Well, you probably remember before it wasn't record-setting. I think Sam Bradford was the last QB that got like $50 million
in the draft. Yes.
Like where the first round. That's where they protected you. So because they know it's a quarterback-driven league, and they know you got to take a chance, and they know you got to spend a lot of cash and a lot of money to get that. So they took that burden off you. And then if they earn that second contract, then they earn that, and you're happy to pay it. Look, every team wants what? They want a Patrick Mahomes. They want a Tom Brady. They want a QB that just represents everything and can carry the offense and can win you Super Bowls and can do it with their legs, with their feet, with their head, with their arm. I mean, just touch throws, bombs, running the offense. Yeah, they have their bad days, of course, but overall, they're carrying your team. They're carrying your organization. Yes, you have to have a defense. Yes, you have to have an offensive line and all that, but everyone knows you got to have the QB. I don't think you have to have the best QB in the league to win. A lot of times that doesn't happen, but you definitely got to have a QB that's efficient, that's consistent, doesn't turn the ball over, lets his playmakers make plays, that goes with the coordinator calling plays, all that is whipped together. But that's what I need. I need a quarterback to run my offense, run it efficiently and effectively, and don't give the ball to the other team. It's not that, it's a lot easier said than done, but it's simplistic in nature.
Well, in talking about your C.J. Stroud point a minute ago, his rookie season, he passed those tests with flying colors.
He did.
Right?
He did.
Leader, dog, all ball. Well, kind of gotten defense in a defense's face every now and again, which people really like. Not all the time. You can't do it all the time, but pick and choose a spot, kind of like Trevor did 2 years ago. But to your point about a potential sophomore slump on the way, who is studying C.J. Stroud the most right now? It is Ryan Nielsen.
Yeah, the division.
Gus Bradley.
Yep.
And I just looked up his name, but I forget his name. The guy the Titans just hired for their defense coordinator. It's those three gentlemen. The rest of the league is hoping are going to crack, or at least on the defensive side, are going to crack the C.J. Stroud case.
Yep.
Will it? And you were saying, and I agree. It's been hard to see shortcomings up to this point.
No, I know, but it does happen.
They see something.
Yeah. Remember, look, Baker struggled year 2, but then came back in year 3, if you remember that. Baker was awesome year 1. He won rookie of the year. He set records. He was before Herbert, right? And then Herbert went back-to-back with at least throwing for a lot of touchdowns and such, So you need that, right? You want that. I don't think you have to have that, like I said. And you can have the Brock Purdy's if it fits your offense, as long as you got what? Badass O-line, badass D-line, an aggressive defense that makes plays, a D-line that gets the ball out, that pressures the quarterback. Dave Campbell says it best. Look, it's true. Today's league is what? The quarterback being effective and your defense affecting the quarterback. That's really what it is, right? It's not the old pound, I formation, pound you, fake into a play action, dump it over your head because you jumped on the run. There's a tiny bit of that, but that's not the game today. It's that quarterback. It's that wizardry of the coordinators where they're throwing the ball. If you remember, before all this Press Taylor stuff, what would we say about Doug Peterson's play calling? He sets guys up to get open. They get open. I mean, it's not just, back in the day, hey, you got to beat this guy. You just got to beat the guy in front of you, and then, you have, this is your route tree. This is what you're going to run. Now it's more like, all right, how can I set my guys up with rub routes, with pick routes, with whatever, motion, crossing routes. Crossing routes are the hardest things to cover as a defense. Because if you're in man, they're going to bunch you up and you got to get through the wash. Do I go underneath it? Do I go over the top? Does he stop and they hit him? Does he keep going? It's very challenging to cover a crossing route in man. Now in zone, it's challenging because you got to pass it off, right? You take him to your zone, and then if the other guy's coming, you got to drop him and pick the other guy up. And if you're not on it with the other guy, whether it's safety or corner, there's a hole, they hit it. That's why you need what? Pressure. So they didn't have all this time to do that kind of stuff. So look, you got to have good coverage, but you better have that pressure so the timing is disrupted. If
there was such thing as perfect coverage, there wouldn't be a need for pressure.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
If I could come up with a coverage and say this takes care of everything.
Yeah. Well, think of prevent. They drop back 8.
Right.
They complete passes all day long in prevent. Now, granted, it's all because they let you catch it up front, and then they, as long as you don't beat them deep.
But I get what you're saying. You got 1,000 DBs back there, and they're still completing pass. Yeah.
Yeah, to 3 or 4, maybe 5.
If Urban Meyer didn't say a lot of intelligent things when he was in Jacksonville, but if he said one smart thing, he said, "Show me how good your D-line is, and I'll show you how good your team is."
Yeah.
That was.
I say O-line and D-line. I think they set the tone for the whole team.
Agree.
You got to have a bunch of just animals, good guys off the field. I'm not saying that, but on the field, just wanting to hurt people.
But think about Saxonville, man.
Yeah.
Think about when they got in the backfield. Think about that year, how silly
2017.
Yeah. Think about how silly they made good quarterbacks look.
Yeah.
Ben Roethlisberger. The second game was a little different. The first game where they played the Steelers that year, and he threw 5 picks. He looked like he looked like he didn't belong in the NFL.
No,
and this guy's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
You can see it. Look, every quarterback gets affected with pressure. Every one of them.
Yes,
You've seen Tom Brady struggle. You see Mahomes struggle.
Yes,
they don't want to get hit. It hurts and it disrupts everything, and you can't get the ball out. And it's frustrating, and then you don't know if you can count on your guys, and then you know what I mean. That snowballs from there. But too bad. That's part of that's why you get paid the big bucks.
When you were playing, there had to be no better feeling than when you're playing on defense and your D-line is just eating and just getting after QBs.
Well, look, for a middle backer, my 2 best friends are my tackles.
Yeah.
Keep those 3 off me so I can go hit the running back at the line of scrimmage. Nobody really gets that, I mean, no middle linebacker really gets to roam free. I think Ray Lewis got to. I think other guys did too back then, but I don't think you roam absolutely free, untouched kind of free. But that's the idea. You go, your job's to tackle, and then, hitting the QB for me was a luxury. Like that was fun when they sent me on a blitz and I got a chance.
Well, but in certain games where your D-line was just dominating the other O-line, you probably knew that there was always a chance. But even when you were in pass pro, like, okay, this QB may throw me one.
Yeah.
Because he's flustered.
Yeah,
right
you
now.
could be a little more aggressive, especially your corners on those out routes.
I feel like that's got to be such a fun.
Yeah.
That's when football gets really fun.
Well, if you remember, you're talking about 2017 defense. I mean, there were weeks where you almost expected them to score on defense.
Oh, yeah.
They were that good and that opportunistic on the defensive side of the ball. And you expected it almost. Even if the offense wasn't clicking, wasn't, doing what they were supposed to be doing, you knew our defense was, A, going to keep you in it, and B, have a chance to get the ball out somehow, pick, fumble, what have you,
and score
or set us up to score or, really change the game. That's when you got a defense. And the D-line definitely is, the core piece of that. But think about that. When you have a D-line, your outside guys can play with a lot more swag, a lot more confidence, a lot more aggressiveness, And you think about Ryan Nielsen and what he's trying to do here in Jacksonville. He wants those press corners. Now, not every snap, but he wants a 2 press. So what? What does it do? It disrupts the timing. I get my hands on the guy. I'm not 5 or 7 or 10 or 12 yards off. trying to figure out which route he's going to do and then react on it. I'm making sure I can dictate part of his route. Now, it's easier said than done, right? I mean, they used to press Jimmy Smith, and Jimmy was so strong, he just knock your hands out of the way and get up the field. And he was full speed in like 3 steps, so you had to play that game with him if you wanted to even have a chance. But that's what Ryan Nielsen wants, those kind of corners. And to me, if you have the line, and I know I heard what Nielsen said about he believes it's from the outside in, or partially, right? Have the corners, everything else works out. There's a little truth to that, right? But at the end of the day, it's if my guys can get pressure, and not just the outside, the push, where the quarterback either has to throw it out early, he can't escape, then I can be really aggressive on my play calling, on my coverage, on everything.
We know that all too well.
It all starts with that.
We know that all too well on our offense.
Right.
That pocket kept collapsing all season from inside,
yep.
And it was really, really screwing up Trevor. And you mentioned it earlier in the show today.
Yeah.
There became this book on Trevor that take away his first read and you got him. Yep. And that kind of gave the vibe that Trevor can't make reads. But I don't think that's really the case. I think the case is after read 1, he's got a defensive tackle coming to kill him.
Yeah. I think that affects your confidence.
It has to.
And going to your second read. I think the first read, look, you can get the ball out for the most part.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
You can protect yourself to a certain degree. But, look, that's why it goes together, right? It does. It does. Some of that, look, the year before, when Trevor went on the hot streak. Remember, before it was up and down. Some was good, some was okay. But then he went on a streak, and we were lauding the play calling because what were they doing? Getting the ball out quick, first reads, rubs, getting guys open. All he had to do was make completions, let the guys do the work, and they did, and then it worked. And then San Diego Chargers did what? They sat on those routes. That's why they had a big first half, and then we adapted to that, and then Trevor had a big second half because he got to go to the second read. So it does go together, but I don't know if I believe he's got to be able to go to the second read, because if he couldn't, without pressure, I'm talking, that would have been out in his scouting report. You know what I mean? Like if the kid, like nobody ever said when he was coming out, the kid's got everything except, he doesn't go to the second and third read very well. That was not a thing. So that he can, is my point. But with pressure, look, think of this. I'm going to try to simulate it. Hut. Boom.
Right, exactly. Like
right. Where'd he come from? Not every play, but
go back.
You're not going to want to stand there and do that.
Go back and watch.
That would have been a great hit too if I was on that other side of that. That would have been a good one.
Go back and watch, except you would have got a roughing the passer, probably.
Today I would have, no doubt.
But go back and watch the 2020 Super Bowl, Bucks Chiefs.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
If you watch that whole game,
yep,
I bet you'll come away saying Pat Mahomes wasn't getting to his second read a lot.
No.
You know why? Because he had $2 in his face.
Yep.
By that point.
Yep. And he still threw for a lot of yards, if you remember. He made a lot of plays, but he also was harassed.
And there was some tracker or something that said he ran like 4 miles or something crazy.
He was running
for his life the whole game.
No doubt.
And Trevor had to do that a lot. If Trevor had
excuse me,
his all his injuries last year.
Yeah.
If Trevor weren't more mobile, he would have gotten a season ender at some point last year. I feel pretty confident saying that.
Being hit, you mean knocked out, you mean?
Yeah. He would have gotten some type of more serious knee or some type of more serious like shoulder or something.
Yeah.
The kind of minor injuries he got that just hindered him.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I with the way the interior of that line collapsed as much as it did.
Yeah.
I found it hard to believe if Trevor didn't have more escapability, or if he had less escapability than he does and wasn't able to get out of harm's way more himself.
Yeah.
At some point, I think he would have gotten some type of injury that would have sidelined him for maybe the whole year.
I think the knee he got over, the ankle really hurt.
I agree.
And the ankle was his plant foot. So now if you think about it, like if you're hesitant to really plant that foot because you're thinking you feel pressure coming, you don't want that big foot stepping on your ankle with those cleats, man. It hurts like a son of a gun. So, the other two, I think, get a little bit, he didn't play when the shoulder took him out of the Carolina game, right?
Yeah.
The head took him out of no games.
No.
I mean, everyone's like, look, the ankle, no doubt. The knee, he came back and played great against New Orleans. So I think he could have handled the knee.
And he had his best running game of the season.
He did. He was awesome that game. And that's the Trevor ball that I and you and we always talk about. That's the kind of street ball he's got to play to be the most effective, in my opinion.
And that's when his talent really shows.
Yes,
that's
he
when
gets
it's
in a
like,
rhythm. He's flowing. Now you got to really worry about him taking off. You got to worry about him making the throws.
And it's like, I don't know if I've ever seen a QB where it becomes more obvious, like that a switch is flipping and he's really playing with swag. Like man, he had this one big run or this one big throw or whatever, and it always involves movement. It always involves him really moving somewhere.
Right.
And then it's like, all right, he's really cooking right now.
Yeah.
Like, because Mahomes, you kind of feel like he's always there. He's that good.
Well, his arm makes him there, but when his arm's breaking down, what does he do? He uses his feet.
100%.
And he's phenomenal with it.
And with Trev, you can kind of tell he'll start chirping a little bit more at defenders, and there's just like a little bit. It's like this little edge comes to him, and when that comes, you're like, all right, this guy's like insane. Like this guy's really, really good, and you saw it all the time in 22.
Yeah, to me, it's like, like you ever play baseball? You steal a base.
Yeah,
like that exhilarate. You know what I mean? That like. You just advance from.
So yeah, I just did that.
You know what I mean? That like when you get a first down with your, it's the same kind of feeling. Like, or if you're on second and there's a hit to the outfield and you're gonna take it home, you're rounding third. You know what I mean? Like, gotta haul ass and get there. But then when you do, it's like part of the game. Like that, you're in the flow of the game. Anyway, so I do think the injuries. Oh, he was injured all year. Yeah, he was injured. Played through the lower extremity, played through the head, I guess, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I've had, I don't know, about the if he was cleared to play, then you're cleared to play.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
I don't know. Don't play him if he can't see anything. You know what I mean? If his head's bothering him, you don't play him.
Sit him, yeah. To me, there were two things that I thought really came into play with his injuries. First, the whole him not practicing all week and then playing, the coaches minimized every time the importance of him practicing every week, which I always thought was weird. I'm like, I don't know about that, man, because they show up on Sundays and people aren't on the same page. And I felt like that mattered. And then the shoulder, because the shoulder sidelined him for Carolina, and then he played against Tennessee. Tennessee was his most inaccurate game of the year throwing the ball.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a coincidence that he hurts the shoulder.
Yeah.
And then his first game back, he's throwing it all over. That interception, remember he threw it over Calvin Ridley's head?
Yes.
That was one of the worst throws I've ever seen him make.
Yeah. Well, he was that game, but I mean, throughout the season, he had games and throws like that. Maybe not.
I don't disagree.
I didn't feel that while it was going on. When you look back, you're like, yeah. I mean, that's not the reason they lost. I don't think. I think they just got physically beat up again, like they did, most of that downfall. But look, he's got to look. All I know about quarterbacks is this: you got to be all the way in, and that means practicing with some pain. That means he's a tough kid. I know he is. I'm just saying, like, that's extra homework. That's coming in on your off day. That's why they pay you $50 million a year or whatever it is now. Like that you're expected to do that. Like that's your job. So, we'll see how that goes. But look again. Year 4 is a big year for our organization, in my opinion. Big year for the coach. Big year for the QB. Big year for the GM. And some have longer leashes than others, and there's no leash right now on Trevor. He's our guy, no doubt about it.
But
this is a big year for him.
Baloo has called this offseason the most important in franchise history.
Well, I'm glad we didn't sit on our butts like last year.
I don't know if I totally agree with him, but I think he's got a point, because I think this offseason and how it translates into the regular season, how they play, that answers a lot of questions about Trevor Lawrence's future in Jacksonville. It's just the truth. And that's not to say he won't be the guy, but it's just, if he has a great year, they pay him big money, where everybody's hunky-dory, everything's great. If they struggle, like, things get hairy. It doesn't mean they're not going to keep him. They would, I'm sure, but, like, you get what I mean. It just makes things weird. In hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
But looking back now, I think you kind of just hinted at it. Would you have just let Trevor sit for 3 weeks?
No. He's my best QB.
Okay.
And if he's cleared, that's where you say medical. If he's not ready, don't tell me he's ready. Because all I know is I got to trust you to tell me he's ready or not. And if he's not ready, then you tell me that. Like, coach, I wouldn't play him. I need that trust out of them, and I'm sure he does. But if they say he can go, guess what? You go. That's the way it is. And he's your best QB. Look, at the end of the day, there are factors in last year. But the biggest factor, just go back to week 2 and week 3. Okay? Just go back to that. The comments coming out, bad practice, need to get out of here, believing our press clip, all of that stuff. This team didn't handle the success from a year ago. That's the core of the problem. Talented enough, had enough talent to get into the playoffs and do something, but it was all that psyche, ego, what have you, in the locker room, the leadership, whatever, thought you were high and mighty and then didn't show up. And that's not every player, but you know what? You're all lumped together as a team, and that's how it ended. It didn't end because Trevor was hurt. It didn't end just because Christian Kirk got hurt. Those things matter, no doubt. But in reality, you guys got all fat and happy, thought you had arrived, and you didn't arrive. And now you're going to go back into this year, and I hope and pray that that's the message. Staying humble but hungry. That's the key. Team first, not you. Not your, whatever you got going on out there, social media. None of that matters. Awards, contract, none of it. They matter, but not more than the success of the team. I think that's what they have to get back to. I've never thought, even all throughout last year, that they were not talented enough. I always said that. They're talented enough, but you can't win when you're dropping balls, you're missing assignments, you're not running the right route, you don't have the right coverage, your tackling sucks, your D-lines get knocked on their ass, your O-lines get knocked on their ass. You can't win like that. That is all attitude, in my opinion. That is all attitude. So hopefully, I think they do. Real quick as we wrap up, because I got to get on to Jaguars today. Do want to thank Team Tommy Mac, man. Go check him out. You'll see him all over my Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And just go check out their pages when you get a chance. Chris Lucero's Bail Bonds, J-Dog Junk Removal, Jalaram Hotels, Code Ninjas, Michael Nickus' State Farm, Beachside Rentals, Azar Sausage, Carpet Man, Solomon Ventures, and Graffiti Burger Bar. And want to thank 1010 XL as well. Christian Kirk says, where's the faith at, man? On Twitter, did you see that? You got to earn that faith. You got to earn it back. The good thing about Jacksonville, though, you can earn it back quick. And maybe sports in general. By how? By winning. Next thing, you win that opener. Oh, winning the second one. You know what I mean? Forget everything we said, right? That's all we want.
The Cowboys have been winning faith back for 25 years, man.
Exactly.
That team craps down their pants every single January, but they win a couple games in September, and their whole fan base is always back.
Yeah. No, it's true. Just win, and then get to the playoffs and win. But we'll just take winning for now. We're about the playoffs later, right? All right, here's a one we'll wrap up with. Vegas has the odds of the Jags one loss at 8.5, 2024. 8.5 wins. Over or under for you as we sit here today. Things happen between now and, start of the regular season. But as you sit here today, what would you say?
I'll take the over right at 9.
I was kind of thinking the same thing. Isn't it wild how, because 9-8, you'd be like, wow, 9-8, 2 years in a row. That's awesome. What a great record for Doug Peterson. But then you go, wait a minute, break it down. Zoom in. Zooming out, it looks 9-8. Zoom in, you're like, oh, man. The 1 year, holy cow, came back. Excitement. Woo, woo. Next year, we're on top. Crash, burn, done.
Last year was the stinkiest 9-8 I've ever seen. Man.
I know. That's why I think you just wash them, right? Year 3 of Doug, we're 0-0. 0-0. Let's go. Fresh start. But you got to do it. You got to win, and you got to win often. All right, that's going to do it for me. And Grammage here. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. Greatly appreciate it. I want to say thanks to Bobby again at the Wawa for saying hello and saying he watches, catching up with Tommy Mack. Man, love all the support. You can always say hi to me. You know why? Because I start with kindness, Grammage. Did you know that? I always start with kindness, and that's a great way to start.
I don't.
You don't? You
should.
Taking
the hell out of my face. No, I'm just kidding.
You should. You should. Unless you got great backup, I would just advise you to start with that. I'm going to head over to Jaguars today for with Mike Demps, Fat Tony, and Pockets for a couple hours, and then get into the weekend. Hope you all have a great weekend. Be safe. Stay cool. All that good stuff. And we'll see you next time right here on Catching Up with Tommy Mack. Peace.